The night was cold, darker than usual, and the wind moved through the empty streets like a whisper of death. Snow covered the ground in a thick white blanket, and each step left a fragile print that was quickly erased by the storm. The city was alive with light inside the houses, but outside it was a place of silence and loneliness. In that silence, she walked. A woman, thin and trembling, her clothes torn, her face pale. At first glance, she looked human. Her skin was pale like ice, her lips dry and blue. But if anyone looked closely, they would see the truth her eyes. They glowed faintly in the dark like small stars, not bright enough to light her way, but strange enough to frighten anyone who noticed. She pulled her arms around her body, trying to trap whatever heat was left. Each breath came out as fog in the freezing air. Her steps were heavy, slow, as if her legs might give up any second. She was not from here. She did not belong to this planet. To these streets, to these doors that stood silent in front of her. But tonight, she had no choice. She needed warmth, food, a place to survive the night. Her thin hand rose, shaking, and knocked on the first door. Knock, knock. The sound was weak, like her body. Inside, voices moved. A light flicked on. She waited, hope rising for just a moment. Then the door opened. A man stood there, his eyes sharp, his face curious. For 1 second, she thought he might help. But his gaze fell on her glowing eyes, and everything changed. His face twisted. His lips pressed into a hard line. He said nothing, only slammed the door shut. The sound echoed in her ears. A slam of rejection. A slam that told her she was not welcome. Her heart sank, but she moved on. She had no strength for anger, only survival. At the second house, she tried again. This time, a woman opened. The warm light from inside touched her frozen face. The woman gasped, whispered something under her breath, and pulled her child close. The door closed quickly, like a shield against danger. The alien woman lowered her head and turned away. Snowflakes fell on her hair, melting into tiny drops of water. Freezing again in seconds. House after house, door after door, the answer was always the same. Some ignored her knock. Some shouted, "Go away!" Others looked once at her strange eyes and shut their homes against her. She wanted to speak, to explain, to say she was not dangerous, to tell them she was dying, that all she wanted was shelter. But fear is stronger than words. Humans did not wait to listen. By the 10th door, her hands were numb. She could barely lift them to knock. By the 12th, her legs trembled like they might collapse. She leaned against walls, using her last energy to stay on her feet. The storm grew worse. The cold was not just outside anymore. It was inside her bones. Her glowing eyes dimmed, almost fading. Her thoughts turned dark. What if no one opens? What if this planet rejects me until my body is nothing but ice in the snow? Yet still, she walked. Still, she tried. At the 17th door, she placed her hand against the wood, too weak to knock. The door opened on its own. A family stood there, shocked by the sight of her. She looked up, her lips moving, whispering a plea, too quiet to hear. The father pulled the children back. The mother shouted, "Close it." And just like that, the door slammed in her face. This time, she did not move quickly. She stood there, her knees shaking, her heart heavy. Then, slowly, she fell to the ground. Snow cushioned her fall, but the cold bit deeper. She lay there for a moment, her glowing eyes staring into the night sky. Stars above, snow below. A world that was not hers. She thought of her home, far away, destroyed. She thought of the long journey that brought her here. She thought of the hope she carried, the hope that maybe, just maybe, this planet would be different. But 17 doors had told her otherwise. Her fingers curled weakly in the snow. Her body wanted to rest, to stop, to let the cold take her. But something inside, some spark of survival, forced her to move again. With trembling strength, she pushed herself up. Her legs dragged, her arms shook, but she rose. Slowly, painfully, she stepped away from the 17th door. There was one more house. One more chance. The 18th door stood at the end of the street, light glowing warmly from the windows. She moved toward it, every step a battle, every breath a storm. Her mind whispered, maybe this time. Maybe this human will see me not as a monster, but as someone in need. And so, in the freezing night, almost broken, almost gone, the alien woman knocked once more. Snow fell heavier as the woman dragged herself forward. Her hands shook, her steps slow, but her eyes burned with the will to survive. 17 doors. That was how many she must face before her strength ended. She did not know this number yet, but fate had already counted them. At the 3rd door, a dog barked before she could even knock. The sound was wild, violent, like the dog had sensed what she really was. Behind the door, a man shouted, "Quiet," but he never opened. She waited, shivering, her breath fogging in the air. Nothing, only silence. She moved on at the 4th. Lights flicked on. A shadow crossed the window. She could see the outline of a woman watching her. For a moment, hope flickered in her chest. She lifted her hand in a weak wave, as if to say, "Please, help me." But the curtain fell, and the lights snapped off. Darkness again. Her chest tightened. Humans feared her before they even knew her. At the 5th door, she knocked harder. The sound echoed down the empty street. A small boy opened, maybe 6 years old, his eyes wide and innocent. "Mama," he called, pointing at her glowing eyes. The woman inside came rushing, grabbed the boy, and yanked him back. She whispered something quickly, fear twisting her face, and shut the door with shaking hands. The alien woman pressed her hand to the wood. She did not want to harm the child. She only wanted warmth. But no one asked. No one listened. By the 7th door, her knocks were weak again. This time, the door creaked open slowly, as if someone was curious. An old man stood there, holding a lantern. His eyes studied her face, her trembling body. For one long moment, she thought he might help. His lips parted as though he might speak. But then he froze, his gaze locking on her glowing eyes. The kindness drained from his face, replaced with fear. He muttered something like a prayer, then shut the door without another word. Her body ached, her heart heavier with each rejection. At the 10th door, she leaned against the frame after knocking. She barely had the strength to stand. A teenage girl opened, headphones still around her neck. The girl's eyes widened. "Whoa, you're not normal," she whispered. The alien woman tried to smile, tried to look harmless. But the girl's expression shifted from wonder to fear in seconds. She slammed the door, locking it with a sharp click. At the 12th door, there was shouting before she even touched it. A man from inside barked, "Go away. Whoever you are, leave this street." She froze, shocked. How did he know I was here? Was it her glowing eyes, or something else, some sense that she was different? She stepped back slowly, the snow crunching beneath her feet, and walked away without knocking. By now, the cold felt alive, crawling under her skin, sinking into her bones. She hugged herself tightly, her eyes dimmer, her breaths shorter. The 15th door was the cruelest. She knocked, and a woman opened with a smile, warm light spilling from the house. For a heartbeat, the alien woman thought the nightmare had ended. But the smile vanished when the woman saw her eyes. She slammed the door so quickly that the alien's hand was nearly caught in it. The slam rang in her ears like thunder. She staggered to the 16th door. Here, no one answered. She knocked again, Nothing. She leaned her forehead against the wood, whispering in a weak voice, "Please, just for tonight." But silence was her only answer. Her legs shook. She knew she was close to falling, to letting the snow swallow her whole. Then came the 17th door. This time, she could not even knock. Her body leaned against the frame, weak and broken. The door opened suddenly, and a family appeared. A mother, father, 2 children. The warmth of their home touched her face. She lifted her head, lips trembling, and whispered, "Help." The family stared in horror. The father pulled the children close, the mother gasped, and in one motion, the door was slammed shut. Locked. Final dot, the alien woman slid down, her body collapsing into the snow. She lay there, eyes half closed, her breath shallow. The storm howled around her, and for a moment she thought this was the end. 17 doors had told her she was not welcome. 17 humans had looked into her glowing eyes and seen only danger. Her mind whispered, "This planet is no different. This world has no place for me." But deep inside, a spark still burned. She could not die here, not yet. Somewhere beyond this street, beyond these doors, maybe hope still existed. Her fingers dug into the snow. Her body, broken but not finished, pulled itself up once more. With every ounce of strength, she turned her head toward the final house, the 18th door, and with trembling steps, she walked into her last chance. Snow crunched under her weak steps as she dragged herself to the last house. The 18th door tore body was almost done. Her skin pale as death, her lips cracked, her eyes faint. Each breath came out as broken gasps. She whispered to herself as though the words could carry her forward. One more. Just one more. The house looked different. It was smaller than the others, old wood and stone, smoke rising from the chimney. A single warm light glowed behind the curtains. Inside, someone was awake. Someone who might hear her. Her hand rose slowly. Her fingers, stiff from the cold, knocked against the door. The sound was weak, barely more than a whisper. Knock, knock. For a moment, nothing. Her heart sank. Maybe no one would come. Maybe the 18th door would be like the others. Silence, fear, rejection. Then, footsteps, slow, steady, coming closer. The door creaked as it unlocked. A man stood in the doorway, holding a candle. His face was rough, marked by years of work, his hair dark with streaks of gray. He was not rich, not powerful, just human. The woman swayed on her feet, ready to collapse. The man's eyes studied her. The torn clothes, the trembling body, and then the eyes. Those faintly glowing eyes that had closed every other door before this one. His face did not twist in fear. He did not slam the door. He only stared, silent. Like a man looking at a riddle he could not yet solve, the alien woman whispered, her voice barely a breath. "Please." "Help?" For a long, heavy second, the man said nothing. The storm howled, snow biting into her skin. She waited for the rejection, for the door to close again, but instead, the man stepped aside. His voice was calm, low, almost gentle. "Come in." Her body shook not from the cold, but from shock. She blinked, not sure if she had heard right. Humans always said no. They always turned away. Yet here, the door stayed open. Slowly, weakly, she stepped forward. Her legs almost gave way, and the man reached out quickly, catching her by the arm before she fell. His hand was warm. Human warmth. Inside, the house was small but alive with comfort. A fire burned in the corner. The air was heavy with the smell of wood smoke and bread. She felt heat touch her skin for the first time in what seemed like forever. The man shut the door behind her, locking out the storm. He led her to a chair by the fire and placed a thick blanket around her shoulders. Her glowing eyes reflected the firelight. Brighter now, alive again. She looked at him, uncertain. Why was he different? Why was he not afraid? The man poured hot water into a cup and handed it to her. His eyes never left her, curious but not cruel. "You're freezing," he said softly. "Drink this. Warm yourself." Her hands shook as she held the cup, the steam fogging her vision. She sipped slowly, feeling warmth spread through her chest. Her eyes closed for a moment, not from weakness, but from relief. No one had given her this. Not in 17 doors. Not in her long journey across this strange planet. When she opened her eyes again, he was still watching. "You're not from here," he said quietly. It was not a question. Her lips parted, but no words came. She was too tired to explain, too afraid of what truth might bring. The man leaned back in his chair. He did not press her. He only said, "You don't have to speak now. Rest first. You're safe here." Safe, the word echoed inside her. On her world, there was no more safety. On this planet, safety had been a dream, a fragile hope. And now, at the 18th door, she heard it spoken as truth. Her eyes filled with tears she did not know she still had. The fire crackled. The storm raged outside. But inside, the world was quiet, warm. Still, her heart was not calm. Questions burned inside her. Why did he let me in? Why is he not afraid? Can I trust him? Or is this just another danger hidden behind kindness? The man did not look away. His eyes, steady and sharp, carried something she had not seen before. Not fear, not hatred, but something else. Curiosity and maybe, hidden deep inside, a spark of kindness. As her body rested, her mind whispered a warning. Be careful. Humans are not all the same. One door open does not mean safety forever, but another voice, softer, fought back. 17 doors closed. One opened. And sometimes one is enough. She pulled the blanket tighter and closed her eyes. Letting herself breathe, just for a moment, the man leaned forward, speaking softly, almost to himself. Strange eyes. Strange night. Who are you? She opened her glowing eyes again, staring into the fire. She wanted to answer, but for now, silence was safer. The 18th door had opened. But the story had only just begun. Snow crunched under her weak steps as she dragged herself to the last house. The 18th door tore body was almost done. Her skin pale as death, her lips cracked, her eyes faint. Each breath came out as broken gasps. She whispered to herself as though the words could carry her forward. One more. Just one more. The house looked different. It was smaller than the others, old wood and stone, smoke rising from the chimney. A single warm light glowed behind the curtains. Inside, someone was awake. Someone who might hear her. Her hand rose slowly. Her fingers, stiff from the cold, knocked against the door. The sound was weak, barely more than a whisper. Knock, knock. For a moment, nothing. Her heart sank. Maybe no one would come. Maybe the 18th door would be like the others. Silence, fear, rejection. Then, footsteps, slow, steady, coming closer. The door creaked as it unlocked. A man stood in the doorway, holding a candle. His face was rough, marked by years of work, his hair dark with streaks of gray. He was not rich, not powerful, just human. The woman swayed on her feet, ready to collapse. The man's eyes studied her. The torn clothes, the trembling body, and then the eyes. Those faintly glowing eyes that had closed every other door before this one. His face did not twist in fear. He did not slam the door. He only stared, silent. Like a man looking at a riddle he could not yet solve, the alien woman whispered, her voice barely a breath. Please. Help! For a long, heavy second, the man said nothing. The storm howled, snow biting into her skin. She waited for the rejection, for the door to close again, but instead, the man stepped aside. His voice was calm, low, almost gentle. "Come in." Her body shook not from the cold, but from shock. She blinked, not sure if she had heard right. Humans always said no. They always turned away. Yet here, the door stayed open. Slowly, weakly, she stepped forward. Her legs almost gave way, and the man reached out quickly, catching her by the arm before she fell. His hand was warm. Human warmth. Inside, the house was small but alive with comfort. A fire burned in the corner. The air was heavy with the smell of wood smoke and bread. She felt heat touch her skin for the first time in what seemed like forever. The man shut the door behind her, locking out the storm. He led her to a chair by the fire and placed a thick blanket around her shoulders. Her glowing eyes reflected the firelight. Brighter now, alive again. She looked at him, uncertain. Why was he different? Why was he not afraid? The man poured hot water into a cup and handed it to her. His eyes never left her, curious but not cruel. "You're freezing," he said softly. "Drink this. Warm yourself." Her hands shook as she held the cup, the steam fogging her vision. She sipped slowly, feeling warmth spread through her chest. Her eyes closed for a moment, not from weakness, but from relief. No one had given her this. Not in 17 doors. Not in her long journey across this strange planet. When she opened her eyes again, he was still watching. "You're not from here," he said quietly. It was not a question. Her lips parted, but no words came. She was too tired to explain, too afraid of what truth might bring. The man leaned back in his chair. He did not press her. He only said, "You don't have to speak now. Rest first. You're safe here." Safe, the word, echoed inside her. On her world, there was no more safety. On this planet, safety had been a dream, a fragile hope. And now, at the 18th door, she heard it spoken as truth. Her eyes filled with tears she did not know she still had. The fire crackled. The storm raged outside. But inside, the world was quiet, warm. Still, her heart was not calm. Questions burned inside her. Why did he let me in? Why is he not afraid? Can I trust him? Or is this just another danger hidden behind kindness? The man did not look away. His eyes, steady and sharp, carried something she had not seen before. Not fear, not hatred, but something else. Curiosity and maybe, hidden deep inside, a spark of kindness. As her body rested, her mind whispered a warning. Be careful. Humans are not all the same. One door open does not mean safety forever, but another voice, softer, fought back. 17 doors closed. One opened. And sometimes one is enough. She pulled the blanket tighter and closed her eyes. Letting herself breathe, just for a moment, the man leaned forward, speaking softly, almost to himself. Strange eyes. Strange night. Who are you? She opened her glowing eyes again, staring into the fire. She wanted to answer, but for now, silence was safer. The 18th door had opened, but the story had only just begun. The fire burned low, throwing long shadows across the wooden walls. The alien woman sat quietly, her hands wrapped around the warm cup the man had given her. Her glowing eyes stared into the flames. But her thoughts were far beyond this little house. The man leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. He had given her warmth, food, and safety for now. But silence could not last forever. Questions pressed heavy in the room, and he finally spoke. "You said your world is gone." His voice was steady, calm but firm. "What happened?" Her lips parted, then closed again. Pain flickered in her eyes. Some truths were sharp, like glass. To speak them was to bleed. She took a slow breath, then whispered, "It burned." The man frowned. Burned. Her hands trembled. The firelight danced on her face, but her voice was flat, empty, as if she had spoken these words many times in her mind. Yes, fire fell from the sky. Our cities. Our homes. Everything turned to ash. There was no warning. One day we lived, the next we were hunted. The man's eyes narrowed. Hunted? By who? Her gaze flicked up to him, and for the first time, her glowing eyes shone brighter, filled with fear. She did not answer at once. Instead, she whispered, "They will come here too, one day." The man's jaw tightened. He leaned forward. "Who?" She shook her head quickly, clutching the blanket around her. "If I speak their name, it will follow me. It always does." The room fell silent. The storm outside howled, rattling the windows. Her words carried weight, like a warning, like a curse. The man studied her for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "So you ran?" Her eyes dropped. "Yes, I ran. A small ship, broken, meant for escape only. I thought I could find another home, another world. But when I fell here, I thought maybe your kind would understand. You look like me. I thought it would be enough." Her voice broke. She pressed a hand to her chest, as if trying to hold her heart together. 17 doors told me it was not enough. The man's face darkened. He looked into the fire, silent. The alien woman's voice softened, trembling like the flames. "Do you know what it feels like? To lose a sky. To wake and know your sun will never rise again. To carry the sound of your people's screams in your ears, even when you are alone." The man did not answer. His silence was not rejection, it was respect. Her glowing eyes filled with tears, shining brighter than before. "I am the last. Maybe not of my kind, but of my world. The rest, they are gone, scattered. I have nothing but memory." The man finally spoke, his voice low. "And what do you want here?" She blinked, surprised. "Want? Yes," he said firmly. "Why knock on doors? Why not stay hidden? Why not run again? What is it you seek?" Her lips trembled. For a long time, she said nothing. Then she whispered the truth she had buried deepest. "I want someone to open the door." The words hung in the air, fragile but heavy. The fire popped, as though marking their weight. The man looked at her differently now, not with fear, not even with suspicion, but with something else, understanding. He rubbed his hands together, then leaned forward. "You found one? But you must understand. Letting you in is not safe. Not for you, not for me." Her eyes searched his face. "And yet you did it." He gave a short, rough laugh. "Maybe I'm a fool. Maybe I'm just tired of being human in a world where people close doors instead of opening them." She tilted her head. His words were strange to her, yet familiar in feeling. Loneliness was something both worlds understood. The storm outside roared louder, shaking the walls. She flinched, clutching the blanket tighter. Her voice fell to a whisper. "They will find me. They always do." The man's eyes sharpened. "Them again." She nodded, her glowing eyes dimming. "Hunters. They follow the survivors of my world. They do not forgive. If they know I live, they will come. And anyone near me will be in danger." The man was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, he stood and walked to the window. He pulled the curtain aside and peered into the storm. Snow covered the street, silent and empty. He let the curtain fall and turned back to her. His voice was steady, but heavy with choice. "Then we wait. If they come, we'll deal with them together." Her eyes widened. "You would risk your life for me? You don't even know my name. The man's expression was unreadable. "Then tell me." She hesitated. Her glowing eyes flickered, softer now, uncertain. Then she whispered a name, strange, fragile, not human, but beautiful. The man nodded once, repeating it under his breath as though testing its weight. For the first time in a long time, she felt less like a ghost and more like someone real. The truth was not complete. She had held back much. But it was enough for tonight. And as the fire burned lower and the storm raged louder, two strangers sat in silence, no longer enemies, not yet friends, but bound by a choice that would soon be tested. The fire had burned low. Shadows moved along the wooden walls, stretching long and thin. The alien woman sat wrapped in her blanket, her glowing eyes half closed, drifting between rest and fear. The man sat by the window, silent, his face hard. The storm outside was beginning to calm. Snow still fell, but the wind no longer screamed. The silence was heavy, almost too heavy. Then the silence broke. A low hum, faint at first, drifted through the night. Not the sound of wind, not the sound of any human machine. It was sharp, cold, unnatural. The man froze, his hand tightening on the curtain. The woman's eyes snapped open. Her glowing pupils widened in terror. "They found me." The man turned sharply. "Who?" She whispered, voice trembling. "The hunters." The hum grew louder, vibrating through the walls. A strange light flickered outside blue, shifting, like lightning that refused to fade. The man pulled the curtain back just enough to see. His jaw tightened. Shapes moved in the snow. Tall, dark, not human. Their armor glowed faintly, symbols pulsing like fireflies. They carried long weapons that hummed with the same blue light. They were searching. The man let the curtain fall and turned back. His voice was low, controlled but heavy with urgency. "They're close. If they knock here, what do I tell them?" The woman's eyes filled with fear. She clutched the blanket tightly, her voice breaking. "You tell them nothing. You say you saw no one. If they know I'm inside, they will kill you too." The man studied her face. Fear, exhaustion, desperation, it was all there. She was not lying. The hum outside grew sharper. The hunters moved slowly down the street, stopping at each house, knocking, waiting, moving on. The man's hands clenched. He looked at her again. 17 doors closed on you. 17 people chose fear. Now I must choose to. Her voice cracked. "Please, don't choose wrong." The sound of boots crunched in the snow outside. The hum of their weapons was louder now, pressing against the walls of the house. A sharp knock struck the door. Knock, knock, knock. The woman gasped, covering her mouth with her trembling hand. Her glowing eyes dimmed as if she wanted to vanish. The man rose slowly, steady as stone. He walked to the door. For a moment, he stood there, hand hovering above the handle. Behind him, the woman whispered, "If you open, it ends." The knock came again, harder this time. A voice followed, deep, mechanical, not human. "Open, confirm shelter." No delay. The man exhaled slowly, then pulled the door open. 3 hunters stood there. Their armor shone faintly in the dark. Their eyes were hidden behind black glass. The tallest stepped forward, its voice metallic, grinding like iron. "Have you seen her?" The man's face gave nothing away. "Seen who?" The hunter tilted its head, weapon buzzing faintly. "Not human. Glowing eyes? Dangerous." The man's heart pounded, but his face stayed calm. He shook his head once. "No. No one came here." The hunter studied him, silent. The others scanned the house with strange devices. Beams of blue light moving across the walls. The alien woman crouched low behind the table, holding her breath, her glowing eyes squeezed shut. The hunters waited. The silence stretched. The man stood firm. Finally, the tallest hunter stepped back. Its metallic voice grated out. "Continue watch. If she comes, inform." The man nodded once, cold and steady. Of course, the hunters turned, their heavy boots sinking into the snow. The hum of their weapons faded as they moved down the street. Blue light fading into the storm. The man shut the door slowly, locking it tight. His shoulders dropped, breath rushing out of him. For a moment, he leaned against the wood. Silent, the alien woman rose from her hiding place, her eyes wide, her chest heaving. She stared at him, voice shaking. "You lied for me?" He turned, meeting her gaze. His face was hard, but his eyes carried something deeper. "I chose," she swallowed, tears glimmering in her glowing eyes. "You could have given me away. You could have lived. Why? Why not?" The man walked back to the fire. He picked up a piece of wood, placed it on the embers, and watched the flames rise again. His voice was quiet, but heavy with truth. "Because if I had closed my door, I'd be no better than the 17 before me. And if humanity means anything, it means opening at least one." Her breath caught. The firelight reflected in her glowing eyes. Brighter now, filled with something new hope. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside the house, a bond had formed. Fragile, dangerous, real, the hunters were not gone. They would return. But for now, the 18th door had held strong, and humanity had been tested and had not failed. Washington, November 8, 2024. The Federal Reserve raised the benchmark interest rate by 0.25%, marking its fourth increase this year to combat high inflation. The Fed chair stated this measure aims to control rising prices and support economic stability. The fire flickered, shadows dancing on the walls. Outside, the storm howled, but inside the small wooden house, silence sat heavy. The alien woman's glowing eyes never left the man. "You risked everything," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Why?" The man poked at the fire with the iron rod, sparks rising into the air. His face was calm, but his eyes carried weight. "Because someone had to." 17 doors chose fear. "I chose different." The woman's lips parted, but no words came. She pulled the blanket tighter. Her heart caught between fear and something new, something she had not felt since her world burned hope. But the silence did not last. The low hum returned. This time, louder, stronger. The hunters were not done. Blue light flashed outside the window, sweeping across the snow like a blade. Voices, metallic and cold, cut through the storm. "They're back," the man said quietly. The woman's eyes widened. "No, they never leave until they are sure. They will search again." Harder, the man stood, pulling an old hunting rifle from the wall. The wood was worn, the barrel scratched, but he held it steady. "You can't fight them," she whispered in panic. "Their weapons, their strength, you will die." He checked the rifle, loading a single bullet with steady hands. His voice was firm. "Maybe, but if I give you up, I lose more than life. I lose what makes me human." Her glowing eyes filled with tears. No one had ever spoken such words for her. Not on her world, not on this one. The hum grew closer. Boots crunched in the snow. This time, the hunters did not knock. The door rattled as they struck it with force. Boom, boom, boom. "Open," the metallic voice demanded. Final warning, the woman shook her head, whispering frantically. "You should have left me outside. If you stand with me, they will kill you too." The man turned his head, his voice steady. "Then I die standing." The door shook again. The lock trembled. The hunters were forcing their way in. The woman rose from her chair, her glowing eyes blazing brighter than before. For the first time, she did not look weak or broken. She looked alive, powerful, dangerous. "I won't let them take you," she whispered. The man raised his rifle. "And I won't let them take you." The door burst open. Blue light filled the room. The hunters stepped inside, weapons glowing, armor humming. The air crackled with power. For a moment, time froze. The hunters faced them. The man stood tall, rifle steady. The alien woman's eyes burned like twin stars. "Move aside, human," the tallest hunter commanded. "She does not belong here." The man's voice cut through the room, strong and clear. She knocked on 18 doors. 17 closed. This one stayed open. And as long as I breathe, it stays open. The hunters raised their weapons. The woman gasped, stepping in front of him. "No, they will kill you." But the man did not step back. He did not lower his rifle. He spoke one final time, his voice heavy with defiance. "You call her dangerous. I call her alive. And if being human means anything, it means we do not shut our doors to the dying." Silence followed. The hunters did not fire. Their glowing weapons hummed. Their dark helmets faced him, but they did not strike. Perhaps they saw something in his eyes. Perhaps they had never met resistance like this, not from armies, but from one man in one small house, standing for one fragile life. The tallest hunter tilted its head. Its voice was cold but slower now. "Your choice is noted, but choice has cost." Then, without another word, the hunters stepped back. Blue light faded. Boots crunched in the snow again as they disappeared into the storm. The man lowered his rifle slowly. His breath came heavy, his heart racing. The woman fell to her knees, tears streaming down her glowing face. "They will come again," she whispered. "You know they will." He nodded. "Then we'll be ready." She looked at him, trembling. "Why? Why fight for me?" "You could have closed the door." The man crouched down, meeting her glowing eyes. His voice was quiet, but unshakable. "Because if one door opens, it is enough to change everything. Maybe even the universe." Her breath caught. Her heart, once frozen, beat strong again. For the first time since her world was destroyed, she felt more than fear. She felt belonging, she whispered, her voice breaking but full of truth. 17 doors closed. The 18th saved me. On my world, we had no word for this. But now I do. Humanity. The man gave a small, tired smile. Then humanity is yours too. Outside, the storm began to fade. The sky cleared, stars shining bright above the snow. One human, one alien, bound not by blood, but by choice. And in that small house, with one open door, hope for two worlds was born.